Hello, Jennifer. Welcome. It's great to have you here.
Hi, Joy. Nice to have you. Nice to be here with you.
Yeah, it's so wonderful actually to see you again. We just met a few days ago for the beautiful summit that you're hosting. So,
Yes, yes, it's wonderful to shift the tables now. We're taking turns.
yes, I love it. So we're going to get into all of that, and I hear some wildlife behind you. So tell us
The
a little
monkeys.
bit. Yeah, tell us a little bit about where you are and what's going on over there.
Yes, I'm in the Pachamama Eco Community. It's a spiritual healing center, transformation center here in Costa Rica, in the Guanacaste area. And they are having a silent retreat this week. So I'm here interviewing or being interviewed, and I have to keep the tone a little bit like on the downside just to make sure that I don't disturb people around. But it's I've been coming here for 11 years, and this place totally transformed my life 11 years ago. And it's just after that that I chose to really leave corporate life behind, and there was no way back for me after going through the transformation journeys I went through back then here.
Wow, amazing. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to get into all of this with you. So,
Yes.
that's incredible. So, can you tell us, yeah, like all about your background from even from, the earlier stages, and then we'll move into your transformation and how and this big breakthrough finding this world of nature and how that's changed your life, so to speak.
Yes, sure. I mean, I'm going to start by saying that I was always very sensitive in life, and always could pick up on, what was true, what was not, and I could perceive in the adult world through my kids' eyes when somebody was actually saying the truth or not, and it created a lot of distortion in my inner compass, because even if people were speaking a different language inside of me, I could feel what was happening at an energetical level. Of course, I didn't know that back then, but it always made me very curious about the invisible world and everything that's very deep, the mystery, the mystical. And this kind of always guided me. I always knew that something was deeper than what I was living. So there was some kind of a split for a good portion of my life, but I always had this reference point of, no, something's deeper. I know something's deeper is going to happen in my life. And I was even referring to this like this to my friends as I was growing older, and even university. I went to engineering school. And I remember telling my schoolmates also, I'm doing this now, engineering, but I know at one point I'm going to be doing something deeper.
Mm.
So, yeah. And engineering, I went through mechanical engineering with the idea of going into biomechanics after. And even if I didn't pursue it like this, I did work with the body at a later stage in my life when I chose to, after let's say 10, 13 years of mechanical engineering, when I was hitting those walls, I chose to go to that deeper space in myself, that calling that was really saying, hey, you need to work with the human being. You need to be in more authentic circles. And it was really by calling. I didn't know what was waiting for me. It was really a matter of faith and jumping into this unknown, and trusting that it was the good timing, putting fears aside. And I had a lot of fears also when I was not 100% ripe when I made that jump. But I was like, I don't have kids, it's the time. And I made that jump, and it took me on a different journey of starting to create spaces, deeper spaces for humans, really meditation and different workshops. And and it led me one step to the other, to yoga therapy and different embodiment practices, somatics, working a lot with reclaiming the power that is in the body, in the cells, and creating space in ourselves so we can create space in our lives. And this became kind of my motto of like that depth that I was feeling when I was young. I want to be always connected to it. I was like, I'm not going to disconnect anymore. I want to live rooted in that, because I felt it was who I was deeper. And it really became my way of living, I would say 11 years ago, when I made that jump out of corporate, and a new compass, a new way of doing things that society was not presenting to me, that I learned to trust, to surrender to, and started to also attract whether it were teachers or friends that were more and more in alignment with that deeper calling of life. And I evolved with that. Went through many different phases in 11 years, and taking sometimes back and forth contract as an engineer because I had, with money, I needed to go back sometimes to sustain me, and learning about also that it's not from one day to the other that everything manifests, right? That even if our soul, or we can see the potential of something, we still have to walk the path here on earth and take the actions and do our inner work and healing, clearing everything that's in the way, which is really the transformation process now that women journey through the containers I offer, right?
Wow. Yeah, I love that you touch on I think it's really important that you touch on that, we still have to live in the physical world, even if we've had, like myself, an experienced this calling to the spiritual path, right? And so, but also, realizing that we do live embodied in the physical world too. And so figuring that out and doing the clearing that we need to do, even though we feel like we're ascending, moving towards that spirituality, but yet, how you were able to really balance or find your way through, your engineering work and the corporate, and then transitioning. And that's a big theme that came up with the mentorship. I was mentoring these women, 8 women, and, today still they struggle with, they're in these jobs, they're in these, the workplace where they're the financial, the lucrative gains are really wonderful, but at the same time, they're feeling like it's not fulfilling them and their purpose. And so the spiritual practice is like the side hustle. And so like, how do we transition and get there? And maybe we'll get into that. But I'm curious to know where geographically were you at this time in your life, and where are you from? What's your family of origin, your culture?
Yes, sure. I'm born in Montreal, Quebec,
Okay.
Canada, and I'm French speaking, and both my parents are Egyptian.
Wow.
So I'm from, my culture is from Egypt. I was born and raised in an Egyptian culture, but based in Montreal. So I always had this feeling of not really belonging, like I come from Egyptian background with the conditioning that comes with this. I'm French speaking, and I always had this calling to deeper stuff also, which I was not feeling that I was fitting. But yes, the culture comes from Egypt. And I think it's, one thing that I learned along the way is that we cannot disconnect from our roots, right? And sometimes in spirituality, we transcend this, and we go above this, and non-attachment and all of this, which is, it serves us to a certain degree, but if it's at the sake of our roots, we pay the price at one point. And this is what I discovered through my own body. So without generalizing, it made me realize that I really have to honor where I come from, and the baggage that was given to me and transferred to me, and also continue the path of my parents, continue the path of my lineage, because it holds design, it holds karma, right?
I love that you said that. And we have the synergy. I don't know if I mentioned that on the interview with this for the summit, but my mom is from Lebanon and my dad has origins from Syria. And so I definitely share with the cultural similarities in where there were struggles growing up for myself with certain traditions that didn't resonate for me, and things that really got in the way of what felt true to me. And then I love how you say, like, we honor our roots, and we can actually do some healing when we understand what they went through, and through that ancestral healing, and move towards love, and the understanding of like that they didn't even realize, how much they were carrying from the past generations. So
yes, a lot of compassion rises when we really dive deep inside the body, and we realize that their tensions are our tensions, and that by doing our work, we're actually releasing them, and we pay attention inside to really what was their desire that they didn't have the setup or the space to acknowledge them and honor them and walk through them. And when I speak about desires, is really something that deeply they wanted, but they never had the space to express. They never had the space to experience, but it was part of their life path, but they didn't have the space to do it. So we carry this inside of us. And I became so fascinated with the body and really hearing my mom inside of me and really hearing my dad inside of me. And I was like, okay, let me continue this, and clearing what's in the way and making us all more free, without pretension, but just that's the work. And I became super passionate about this. And a good portion, I mean, I'm still a freedom seeker. All of this for me is about love and freedom. And to bridge this with the culture was very conservative. And it was, one way of thinking. And, if you go outside of the way the family thinks, then you're an outsider, you're a black sheep. And then you have those deeply ingrained fears of being abandoned or banned from the family. I was even told one time, you choose this, you're going to be banned. So it's very intense. It really comes and shakes your roots and shakes your survival mechanisms of, oh my gosh, I'm actually not safe, because at the level of my roots, I'm not safe, right? I cannot be myself if I choose to own up to what vibrates inside of me for real. Therefore, I'm not safe. This was the program. So I became very curious about traveling. I took my backpack many times, late teens and my whole 20s, because I was rebelling in a way. I was like, no, there is another way of living, and I want to feel safe on my own. And I want to explore how other people think. What are the other boxes, And yeah, and then of course, when you start exploring all of those boxes, you're like, well, is there one box that englobes all of them? So sincere questions coming from a sincere seeker. That was really my 20s, and there's so much to say about this, but I'll let you ask questions.
Oh my gosh, I'm just blown away and so curious. Wow, where did you get that courage from? What sign are you? I'm so curious.
I'm Pisces rising Cancer, super sensitive, very water, 70% water.
Aha, beautiful. Yeah, well, it's your season right now.
Yes.
So, I'm sure a lot is arising for you right now.
Yes.
Yeah, I think this is such a season about, like, really, for me, it's like about discerning what's true for us more and more, and like reclaiming and just like making choices stemming from that choice, from the choice of truth that connect to that truth. So you're in your 20s and you just find this courage. Where do you think you got that courage from? Was there like was there somebody that was like giving you that permission? Was there a message from a higher force? Where'd you get that courage from?
It's a very good question, because it was really, again, a calling.
Mhm.
And what I refer to by calling is the same force, the same calling, whatever big steps of my life that I'm like, you know what, I don't have the choice but to do this. It
Mhm.
comes in that form. It's like you can look on the sides, but the truth is you need to go that way. And somehow I have to follow through. And the courage comes with it, because the second I say yes, like it's really like it starts opening, and I see opportunities, and I see like my whole body gets filled by energy, by more authenticity. I get alive, I get passionate, I get fierce, and it's a new playground. It's just a new life that starts to emerge. And I was always craving adventure my whole life. I'm very adventurous. I had those fantasies in living on an island when I was a kid, of survival mode. And I was very inspired by people who were traveling, so it was already part of me. And
Mhm.
then at one point, of course, again, I had a lot of fear. I was like, wow, you're really gonna go alone and travel with your backpack? My first big trip was Europe. I mean, Western Europe was quite safe, but it was for me like 3 months like this without planning anything. And it was a calling. It was a calling. I remember I was even saving pennies as I was a young teen, I was like, this, it's because it's going to go and buy a flight ticket, and it's going to go and pay my first backpacking trip. It was something that was deep inside of me. And so it was adventure, getting to know other cultures, and also gaining self-confidence. This really propelled me. And it was not my mind, it was just the answers. That it was like, you need to go do this because you need to feel that you have power. You need to feel that you don't need to depend on external structures to feel safe and to navigate through life. It was really coming in terms of those voices. And I was, okay, let's do this. And of course I had many peripeties like along the trip. And is that an English word? Like kind of adventures and like stuff that happened in that trip. Like it's the way it was manifesting. But again, it built strength and more courage and more solidity inside of myself.
Mm, so beautiful. So then you land in Costa Rica, where you are today, where you said you had your greatest transformation. Is that correct?
Yes, I landed here, I was 29.
Mhm.
So I had traveled a lot, and then I felt I needed, I landed here, matter of circumstances. And again, it was by calling. It was really mystical the way I was led here. And I ended up staying 3 months. And I had told my boss that I was going to come back earlier, but then phoned him and told him, listen, I'm staying here for now. So it started like this. And yes, I went through different transformation cycles here. And after that, I felt this healing, self-healing capacity. And I was propelled in the world of healing myself and to start being a space holder myself. And all of this stemmed from the work that I did here also.
Incredible. So is that where you're based out of right now? Or
Yes, here I'm here 6 months. So I try to come here the winters
Mhm.
and gonna go back to Quebec in May. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so nice.
Looking to move here. Like it would be probably a half, you know, something like this.
What do you love most about it over there in Costa Rica?
I mean, I'm a sun lover. I love the heat. My body responds to heat. My smile rises when I'm just surrounded by this warmth also. And being in nature, I'm in the jungle. So really like the spirit of nature just talks to me. And last night I was just walking under the stars, and
Oh,
I just open and I ask the trees, okay, pour into me what I'm meant to be receiving right now. And I just really get nourished, and it guides me. Nature really guides me. Mother
yeah.
Earth is really, I really connect very intimately with Mother Earth and her guidance.
Yeah, it's absolutely beautiful to be so guided and held and to be right in the center of Gaia around all of that
Mm,
nature. So beautiful.
yes.
So I am just trying to figure out where I want to go right now because your work, I mean, the tapestry of your offerings, they're just so beautiful. And
Mm,
I'd say that what really stood out for me was this idea of rebirthing, right? And I'd love for you to share a little bit about how your approach and how you get women to realize, or do they realize on their own that there's something that is at the root of needing
mm,
that transformation to
mhm,
rebirth into their transformation.
mm. Well, there's a few things that I want to share about this. The first thing that came to mind is this rebirthing process. I mean, I received, let's say, deeper codes of birthing when I gave birth to my own son. And also looking for safety. I had this deep question of what safety was, as I had to many times, cycle after cycle, get out of communities or tribes or societies per se, because something was not fitting in those boxes. So life really led me to find what is inner safety. Like, what is safety about? And at one point, yes, I was in my body and really tapping into my womb, into my pelvic floor, reactivating this primal breath. I was feeling that, and also going through yoga therapy, which really taught me this whole embodiment practice. It made me realize that, we are composed of chains of tension. Sometimes they're compensations, sometimes they are really designed. But the more we are connected to this primal breath, there is a rebirth process naturally happening. So layers of tension start shedding, and we get closer and closer and closer to our essence and to our design. And it's, at one point it became non-negotiable that I was going to offer this to women. I didn't choose. It's like life propelled me. When I received the calling to create my first 6 months program, I was here in Costa Rica and I had to leave because of the COVID. And on the plane, really my sacrum was pushing. And it was like, you're going back to Montreal, you're going to create a women's circle with 11 women. It's going to be called Sacred Womb Space. You're going to be, this is more or less what you're going to be teaching. And I trusted, I surrendered to that. And I gave birth to it. So it's the rebirth process is really about connecting or feeling the womb, feeling that feeling the creative potential that's inside of that, and reclaiming the voice, our deeper voice ingrained in our womb. And then our heart has space to relax biomechanically. When we are rooted in our womb, the heart can relax, the diaphragm can relax, and then we start appearing in the deeper version of ourselves, a lot more calmer, in the sense that to not be enthusiastic and excited about it. This is not what it is, but calmer in the sense that our actions are not triggered by survival mechanisms and are not a reaction of some situation, but more a response. It's an action based on something that's calling you, rather than something to make you safe or make you feel valuable or make you, make you feel feel approval,
Yeah, I feel for me, there's like this reclamation to the womb, like this connection to the womb that I feel we have been so disassociated with and disconnected from. And yet the womb is really connected so much to the heart and to the mind. And when we awaken that connection, and it's really the source of our power, I mean, as women, right? And then all of a sudden, it's just like this beautiful, like for me, like this beautiful rebirthing, but an awakening of the connection from our greatest source of power. And
a reset point. Like I really see it as a reset point. As we peel the layers off the womb, we enter this like vastness and void, and this vortex of infinity, right? And you can relate, I'm sure, to this, of when we rest in there, it resets. We have this power of creating every seed that gets implanted there and also resetting it. And no words can really describe this. It's really go and look in and rest inside your womb and get to discover it, and be curious, and it will reveal itself to you as with your sincerity. No teacher can force an opening, right?
Absolutely. And I love that you talk about this. I've actually had a really amazing experience where I was out in Sedona and I had this wonderful download, or like Mama Earth speaking to me. And she was saying how with this awakening to that connection to my own, womb, it was just so beautiful. And she said, like, if you were to look, she said, look around and see my yoni, because my yoni is really the portal, and you're saying vortex, right? So there's vortexes. When we can access these portals, these vortexes, there's so much to be accessed. And that's, to me, the heart connection. That's like the awakening and the opening of the heart consciousness, and then the mind that is really, I feel like it really comes from the heart first and then informs the mind, the wisdom of the mind. So I love that you're talking about these portals, these vortexes, these access points, right?
Yes, and there's a vortex in the womb. There's the heart. There's the pineal gland. Also, it's a huge reset point. Also, and that's an alignment. When we start aligning all of them, they communicate, and that's when our nature comes out. Our essence shines, and our gifts are revealed. And we don't have so much choice. Like we have the willpower, of course, to choose, but I find that the most peaceful moments in my life are when I really surrender to those vortexes and resets, and in humility ask, what's the calling, and what is my next step, and listen to the guidance, and then take action to manifest this.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. And I say very freely, I'm not ashamed to say this, but I feel that for me, what like real sensual, erotic, like, charge, really that force comes from our gifts when we awaken to our gifts. And so like I say, like the erotic nature of our gifts, of who we are and what we're rebirthing, what we're, you know, shining and illuminating with. And that really is so beautiful. It's like our divine right, our power, our,
Mm.
you know.
Yes, I love the joy that comes out of you right now, and it's true because there's juiciness in there. You know, we're talking about life force when we are aligning and when we are stepping. You know, we're not bullshitting ourselves, and we're actually owning up to the truth that's inside of ourselves and our design. And we're like, we get ignited, we get activated by our own selves, and it is super sensual and erotic. We're talking about sexual energy. You know, like that's our life force. And that's why, when in authenticity on that path, it's not about one part or the other. It's about honoring all that we are. The parts that we can judge as dark, as negative, they are super useful, to honor them. And when we speak about, of course, we want to feel alive and have creative lives, or else we're based, and it has to be authentic, meaning that maybe one moment in your life you're going to be, this yogi and serious, and another time you're going to be the mother, and like some roles are going to be more present than the other. But it's to honor every step. It's to not come in the way of what wants to naturally unfold. And it's not as we think it unfolds. We cannot plan this. It's again, we have heard this often, it's this spiral, and it really works like this. To When we are in this current, it looks like chaos because it's not linear. It's not, oh, I'm going to choose to go there, therefore like I just have to plan it and I'll be there. When we surrender, it's like it makes us revisit all those parts of ourselves and ask us, are you reclaiming this? Are you really wanting this power that you serve? Because you're designed to serve this power, this energy. And now we're going a bit deeper into our design, but we're not a physical body, right? We are serving different sets of powers and we are designed to serve them. And we bow to them, we just surrender. And then we can identify to the personality that rises up from that, but it's not who we are at the end of the day. So we can play a lot when we are detached from the personalities. We can stay at the root of everything and stay centered. And when, being of service is about, oh, let this part of me is awakened right now. It's required in the setup because it's actually going to deliver. It's going to transmit some kind of energy that is required in the setup for the person, for the situation, for the collective. It needs to ripple effect somewhere. And then it gets transmitted. That's the depth of the work, right? Not controlling who we are, but allowing it to do the work.
So there's a surrender. You feel like we surrender into it and allow more than controlling and dictating and having an agenda. Yeah.
Yes.
So what would you say is the primary root of why we've gotten so disconnected from our authentic self?
Yeah, it's a very deep question. And I mean, the first thing that comes is all about shutting us from our power and shutting us from our freedom and control, and the systems that were put in place to make us forget, for us to be more puppets of a system and a higher agenda of slavery in a way. That's just and we feel it when we tap into the body and we start perceiving the different currents that go through our minds. We can really feel that this is true. We can be puppets, and sometimes we can transcend the mind currents and sometimes we can't. But it's just to be aware, this whole work is about consciousness. And yes, I believe that we were shut down from our power because when we connect back to this primal, to this life force, we are not as controllable. We are not as manipulable. We are not as, nobody can really tell us, well, this is the truth and this is how it must done. You start trusting your inner scape, and you start you start remembering that all the answers are inside. You gain confidence. So my answer to your question is, because there's powerful systems around and structures that have specific directions that have been thought to bring societies, and that happens in microsystems too. And that it's stemmed out of control.
Yeah. And so to undo, right? Because now with you, the essence of your work, right, is like undoing and right. Yeah. Peeling layers, and we're getting down to the cellular level, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
What's the approach? Share the approach with us, if you will.
Sure. So the approach, really the basic of this is re-owning our own temple, re-owning our own body, and bringing attention from the outside and bringing it back in. So that's really the first step. So bringing it back into our roots, like we were just sharing, the womb, the pelvic floor, and daring to peel the layers off there. And it's a process, it's a life journey, right? So and starting to release what's not true. So the second step is also to gain clarity of what's my voice, what is it expressing, what is this tension saying, what is true in my life, what is this relationship about, is it codependent, and starting to see clear of what's true and what's not. And then the third step is really about creating a new playground. So using all those answers that have been revealed to us to take action in tangible life, in real life, and making decisions. Well, this is a clear yes, this is a clear no, this relationship needs to shift, or I need to let it go, I need to change my job, I need to own up to this part of me that I have been repressing for so long, and she needs to be alive now. So it's making choices and acting to then appear more and more in what we could refer to as our essence or as our gifts, because as we peel off everything that's not true, we start appearing more true and more true and more true, right? And this is our gifts. We don't have to look so far for our gifts. It's about removing what's not true. And when we appear being more true, then something is gifted to the world.
Yeah. And then there is just this outrageous amount of freedom that we get to experience through that, right?
Totally. And that's a punctual thing too. It's freedom is something inside of us. And as we peel and we receive energy, then there's freedom. And freedom is a state. It's a state of flow. It's a state of receiving abundance. It's a state of feeling joy and even feeling chaos, right? That's freedom. Not judging what the moment presents. That's freedom.
Oh, I love that so much. There was a talk that I listened to just a few days ago with Brene Brown and Susan David. I don't know if you've heard of her work, and she, the essence of her work, which she specializes in, is emotional agility. And the basis is really about, really feeling the freedom to feel all of our feelings without labeling our feelings, without saying it's, I'm having negative feelings today. Let's say I'm feeling angry. Let's say I'm feeling shame, but really feeling them and owning them without labeling them as bad or good. And I think that, that touches on that freedom too, that, we get to feel that, we get to say that in the moment when someone says, how are you doing? And not just bullshit and say, oh, I'm doing great, or like, right. And then just, I'm feeling pretty angry right now. And that's just, there's freedom in that communication. And
it's honest. It's very conscious, very honest. And it requires us to take a step back, really bringing, because we're so used to have attention outside of us, but when somebody's asking us, how are you doing, to bring that attention in and how am I really doing? So the answer that is communicated is the most authentic answer that can come out, because this will actually serve the other also. When we appear with the truth of what vibrates in us, it serves people. it doesn't hurt them. Even if you say, well, I'm feeling sad now because this happened and the action was done by you, it's being of service, because energy is released from our body as we are tapping into truth. And this energy is transmitted back. It's subtle, but it's all about energy, because we see our body, but we are far more subtle than this. But that's what we see, but we are so much, we communicate at such a much deeper level than this. That's why intention is so important when we communicate, because what the person receives for real, there's the words, but the intention is what really impacts deep. Energy behind what we see or what we hear. And that again is very deep, but it's beautiful work. It's, yeah.
So you're helping people get like really in their bodies, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And what, yeah, how do you, is it so through somatic work, through yoga, through?
Yes, the embodiment practice is mainly composed of yoga therapy postures and also somatic. So really bringing awareness to the dialogue that's happening inside, to not judging the pain, to really allowing, giving space. So we get clear on what is the emotion circulating, what is the need that is being expressed. Yes, it's a whole process, but it's mainly yoga therapy in groups, and sometimes it can be done individually too, to go deeper. But it's really at the root, to then after have more visibility in their voice, and in the different program they start showing up and naming and expressing their voice and their gifts, and then holding space themselves for other people at one point, if that's where they want to take this. But it unfolds organically. So being in their body, but being in the depth of who they are. And yes, that's stopping the bullshit. That's really what it's about, right?
Oh yeah.
It's really about, yeah, you want truth, come and be inside, be with yourself, don't escape from yourself, right? That's where the fierceness is, and it's juicy, it's so good.
I just like feel, I'm visualizing intuitively what a circle feels like, the energy of that circle, and just like feel this outrageous amount of energy, just like this empowerment that's just like exploding in the room. And is that, yeah?
Yes, there's a lot of fierceness, there's a lot of rawness.
Yeah.
And there's a posture that it's amazing. It's kind of primal crawl, and it's really about, you surrender the weight of your body and you allow it to be ignited by Mother Earth energy, and it will move. Your body will move. You are not making your body move. The body gets to move as it releases tension, and it becomes very animal. You reclaim your animal power, and of course there's a lot of fierceness and life and juice in there. There's a lot of rooted power, and then yes, it circulates, and then we can operate in the world, but we know we are safe, because when we have this deep connection with Mother Earth and knowing that our body actually moves, we don't need to do it. Moves in connection to nature. When we have this, when we reclaim this, it moves and it tells us, listen, to be safe, this is the move you're doing, this is the move you must be doing. And yeah, reconnecting to this practice is really powerful.
Sounds incredible. I feel so much, for myself, there's like a emotion that comes up for me, because I did a lot of just like relearning even how to crawl as because when we were children, we were restricted at a certain age, and we didn't learn how to really move functionally in the primal way, with as you're explaining. And so even from that time in our life, where we've already been disconnected from our safety, which is the root chakra, right? We know that the first chakra is our root. And so now we've been disconnected from our safety, our primal, really the first relationships. And now it's like this rebirthing, this reparenting, this relearning through these movements that are aligned with the cycles of nature and Mother Nature. How beautiful is that?
It's exactly that. And I remember when my son was learning to crawl, how it was like he just knew I didn't have to interfere in whatever way, right? And how the body was, it was all yoga postures, just learning and building the tonus and the muscles at the way nature wanted him to unfold. And it taught me so much to witness this. Yeah,
Yeah,
it taught
so
me a lot.
beautiful. I'm looking here, there's a quote on your website that says,
Mm.
healing and relieving the tensions that built up throughout your pregnancy not only helps you prepare for childbirth, but also helps your baby's human development. So, yeah, so we don't even, I mean, the baby as well is really important for the development of the child too, I assume.
Yes, I mean, for me, the key word in all of this is space. So whether it's, you know, a baby or a woman or a human, when that organism feels that it has space, naturally it will reconnect. It will develop organically in a way that there's no mind interference of you should be doing this or it has to be like this, you know, or you have to do this, you know, like all the to-dos that come most of the time from our parents because of the boxes that they were in. For me, it's all about space. So when the baby is in the belly, it was super important for me to create that space and look at the fuck ups of my mind. Sorry if I had like whatever was interfering. I was like, wow, look at this. I'm already conditioning. So giving space for the thought to start dissolving and having to deal with every step of my journey too, you know, without being perfect. It's not about perfection, but just really being true.
Yes, scientifically, for those that are might be skeptical, there is a neurological cellular imprint that we are creating with those thoughts that we are creating as with the development of the child, correct?
Yes, I mean, I go from direct experience. So yes, science might be saying this, but what I was observing was, for example, when my child was born, I was having certain thoughts, I would automatically see in him reactions and responses, and that's when I knew that this science was true, right? So, for example, you know, there's a moment, for example, I was a bit disconnected. I was really in my mind. My son was beside me, very young, and he started banging, right? And he said, "Mom, be with me." And right away I checked in. I was like, "Well, he's right. I'm actually not present in my body." You know, and stuff like this. Or at one point I was having pain inside my own chest and looping in a thought that was imprinted in my own chest. And then right in front of me, he's like, "Mom, I'm hurting in my chest." So it's all very subtle, but we are all linked. The communication goes again far wider than what we say and what we do. We communicate at this subtle level. So yes, science might be saying this. I haven't read, but again, by direct experience, and this is where I encourage humans and women to dive, that get to know your body, how it communicates. Then you'll know nobody's ever going to be able to remove this. But if you read it in a book, there's always a certain doubt because you read it in a book. It's not yours. It's not integrated in your cells. And I insist a lot on this direct experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I just went on a rabbit hole thinking back to my little children when I was raising them. My children are now grown and I'm actually a grandmother, and actually spent a few hours with my granddaughter today. And I do feel so much that they're so sensitive and they really feel it. And that's why I'm like, if I say I am going to babysit, technology goes on the shelf, put it on do not disturb, and really getting down on my knees and playing with her or attending to her in the way that she needs to be, tended to. And for me, it's a gift, to just to enjoy the energy of a child. So such a gift. So I'm curious to know what really matters you. I'm sorry, excuse me. What really matters to you the most with your work?
Yeah, really great question. Is the word shining comes. You know, what touches me the most also of the work is when I feel a woman is really at this breakthrough point and she's shedding the layer of what's not true, and like suddenly has the veils like removed, and she sees and she's like, oh my gosh, there is that new possibility is here, and she starts owning up to this. And then this light, there's that energy. And I mean, I have no words when those moments, and they come, of course, because it's cycles, and it's every time we peel layers, and it's wow. And then when I hear their voice and I feel like how it's, the voice itself is clearing, I see the text they're writing, and I'm like, there's less interference with who they are. It's, there's something sharper, there's something more grounded. I feel who they are, I receive from who they are, their essence, and and they receive from who they are, they impact their families that way. And that's what's the most important for me, because deeply, fundamentally, I know that when we shine in our essence and in our truth, it has ripple effect on the planet. I mean, it just gives, it pours, and there's more juice.
Oh my gosh, I just love it so much. There's just so much
Yeah,
synergy, because
yeah.
you're just, for you to be doing what you do in the world, it's just the gift of service, the way you're holding the space and really empowering women to claim essentially who they're meant to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then just what a gift that is.
Mm. Yeah, it always touched me. Again, it was a calling. I remember even when I was younger, you know, you're very compassionate about whatever you're meant to be doing somehow. And I remember those moments when I was having, either my sister or some friends, and they were in relationships that were toxic, or the boyfriends were asking them to, you cannot dance because then I'm jealous, and then, you cannot do this or whatever, like whatever was going on. And then there was that fierceness rising in my body all the time, compassionate anger. And I was like, there's no way you're going to stop dancing. And I was telling this, no, but I remember it was already in me when I was early in my 20s, because it was rising. Like there's that rage that comes when you're aligned with your calling. That's why I say it's so primal. Your calling is not something that you choose from your mind. It is imprinted in your sacrum. Like there's a rage. I get the same rage when I see that children don't have the space to grow organically, and they're already put in boxes. They're the same calling for me is super important. So just to go back to that story, it's that fierceness that comes, and it's like, no, you continue to dance, because this is where you shine, this is where you feel alive, this is where your gifts appear. And then most of the time, the friends that I had, they were choosing the safe path, which was, no, I'm going to listen to my boyfriend, and I'm going to be in that box, and then I'm going to get married. And it's no judgments against marriage. I was married myself too, but it's I could see how their light was starting to get down and down and down. And this always stayed with me. I was like, no, this light exists in all human beings. And how can we reclaim that light? How can we reclaim that freedom? And there's no other words. I'm being so touched now by importance, by the importance of that work. It always called me. And this is why I traveled so much, because I felt that light inside of me. I was like, I'm not that person who's stuck in those systems. There's something else. And I have goosebumps as I'm sharing. So it's this. For me, the work is this. For me, the work is about how can we appear as authentically possible, closest to our essence, to our soul. It's really deep, really deep.
So beautiful, really. And I feel like what you just shared is for the listeners that struggle. I know many people that I see, they feel very disconnected from their life purpose. They feel very
Mm-hmm.
disconnected from what they feel called to. There's
Mm-hmm.
confusion around that. And when you share that, it really does break it down in such a beautiful way, where even from such a young age, something mattered to you. There was something that really didn't sit well for you, and you got angry about it or passionate about it. And so, yeah, it now transitioned into this wonderful plethora of work that you share with the world, this act of service that's remarkable. Um, So what are some of the ingredients that you can share for the listeners as far as claiming that permission? Because I think that many women don't feel that permission. They don't feel that, they
Hmm.
have the right.
Yes, I mean it's very touching. At the end of the day, it's really about self-love, right? It's about how much are you capable of loving yourself or allowing yourself to love yourself. And when you hit a wall in life, and walls can be very brutal. And my suggestion is to not wait that the wall gets really brutal, like very strong diseases or very, very strong addictions. And there's so many symptoms of walls that we can hit. But to pay attention to the alarms, right? To the signs, to the little voice whispering, hey, you're not happy in that marriage, you're not happy in that job. And it's already a sign that you can acknowledge, simply take a step back and acknowledge the voice. The first step is acknowledging. You don't need to shut it down or say, no, it's not possible for me, or enter the fears, but just, hey, okay, this is actually happening inside of me. I'm not going to neglect that.
Mhm.
And the doors start opening because the doors open with sincerity. They don't open because we are forcing something from our mind. When there's a sincere calling in our heart, the doors start opening in front of us. And then it's a matter of saying, okay, yes, I'm taking that opportunity. So, and it's really a self-love journey. That's really the way that this question wants to be answered through me right now, is self-love, self-love, self-love. And know that when you choose that, when it's a really deep decision, you will see that the fears were there was a lot of illusion per se in the fears, because love is going to start replacing the fears.
I love that. Absolutely. And I don't think that fear is really the antidote to love, where many people say that. I think that they can exist together and they can live together, and we
Yeah.
can be afraid, but we can also choose love.
Yes. Yes. And knowing that it's, love is just underneath the protections that we have. I really see those protections as on top of our potential. So as we peel off those layers and say yes to ourselves and give ourselves the permission, we start, the love just amplifies. It just amplifies because we're reclaiming who we are at a deeper level. It gives space for who we are. The
Ab-
language is very limited somehow. I feel like I keep repeating the same words, but
yeah.
it's such a felt sense. It's something that we feel, and it's a choice. It's a choice. How much we have one life to live? We often heard this, right? We have this one life to live, and how do we want to live it? And it's not from a cheesy place that I'm saying this. It's really from an empowerment place of really, like, what if this body was ignited? What if it was full of energy, full of life force, and actually aligned with its purpose? Imagine the life that you would have. Imagine your relationships, imagine the potential of impact that you could have, and flow and juiciness. Like it's all there when you say yes to it. So yeah.
I love it. I keep seeing that emoji when you say the amplification, like it amplifies the heart, the love. And it's like that emoji that like it has like the heart, like that just keeps radiating and getting bigger and bigger. And I love it because it's so true, because it starts there, and then it's just, as you said, it leads to so much more. And then we just are really in the flow and living in that abundance. So
Yes, and life comes with its challenges too. It's not always perfect. It's always a matter of re-choosing, and it's right. Like, I'm not saying that I'm never scared or that I don't have obstacles. Obviously I do. We are in a human experience, but it's consciousness that brings that. Yeah, we just, the more we advance that consciousness, and it clears stuff in from the way a lot faster.
absolutely.
Yes.
So I'm so excited to talk a little bit about the summit and the
Okay.
co-creation that's going to happen through this upcoming summit that you have created. So tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about that.
Yes, the summit is the authentic woman you are, how to awaken the wisdom of your body, create space for the truth in your heart, and live in alignment with your deepest desires and highest calling. And it's the third edition. We actually just launched it 2 days ago. Registration is for free, and the first interviews go live on March 15. And it's this really stemmed from my own path, of authenticity and of womanhood. And it came in a moment of my life when I could feel there was more potential, and my voice wanted to start sharing something and flying with my own wings rather than being affiliated to one specific school, which I was before. And again, it was a calling. Life pushed me out of those systems to take those wings, and this summit came to me as an inspiration, and this tagline, the same thing. And it's my own process, I would say. Reclaiming the wisdom of my body, awakening it, and then the truth in my heart. What does my heart really feel, and where does it feel safe to rest? And the deepest desires was coming really from owning up to all those parts in us that sometimes we just judge and repress. And it's like, no, let's own up to them, and get the juice out of it to align with our highest calling. So it's a wonderful series. There's 21 speakers on that series. Uh, all women coming from different types of background, but really aligned with those subjects and the theme that I just mentioned. And it's an interactive training also. So each speakers, and you're amongst them, to offer an activation, a meditation, a visualization, something as a gift to the audience to interact with them. And it's collaborative, it's co-creative. For me, the format of a summit is very aligned to where the planet is actually asking all of us women to rise right now, to really look at each other as sisters and as collaborators, and like, as you have your own unique gifts, I have my own unique gifts, and how can we bring that together to have more impact? And by nature we are collaborative. By nature, we love to see each other shine and rise. The wounded feminine is different, but we are here to heal those wounds, and to name them very um, honestly, right? We all hold them in our wombs, but that's why this work is to honor, because there's no reason for competition and jealousy, comparison, fighting for the male of the tribe or whatever. It doesn't need to be this way, because our value is imprinted in our bodies. And when we tap into that value, when we really intrinsically feel it, I mean, no woman can take that away. We see the illusion of the fear of, well, look at her, and like, what if she takes my place? It doesn't work like this, even if the system and society works a bit like this still, right? We deeper know that we know that it's not true. There is an organic way. There will be abundance for everybody. So if we're not fighting over a man, then we're fighting over money. It's nonsense, right?
Yeah, the competition that comes along with the patriarchy and all of that,
Yes.
really those systems that are dying and really falling
Very much.
away, hopefully.
Yes.
But with women like you who are initiating these summits and the co-creation between women supporting women, and
Yeah.
in this beautiful honoring of women and empowering each other, I mean, it's just like you said, a ripple effect that's going to change the world. So
Yeah. Thank
really
you.
honoring
Yes.
you for that. And I am so honored to be amongst the summit. I think I actually discovered you through Lily Claire Love's summit a few years back.
Yes,
Is that
that was
correct?
my second edition. She was on. Yes.
Yeah. And so, you know, um, I think it's really important to if you can, get on a summit, and there's so much to learn. There's so much that comes through with that support of other women, and
Yes.
as we are learning and we're co-creating with one another.
Hmm. Totally. Yeah, it's really a beautiful opportunity to journey. It's a journey. It's a transformation journey, and it has this quality of transmitting energy. And really, by receiving, opening yourselves to receive, your body's gonna respond. You will get activated. Like your
Absolutely.
cells are going to respond, and you will access this new paradigm through everything that's being shared through the series. It is transformative.
Amazing. Well, we're going to have the links in the show notes. So, and then I'll be sending out some uh, on my newsletters and my social media. And so we'll have plenty of information for that. Um, so we're just about at time, and I feel like we could have had another hour of conversation because of the synergy between us, and this really, really beautiful sharing. Let me finalize with one last question that I ask all of my guests, if you don't mind sharing with us. What is your methodology that brings you into alignment for a joyful life?
Mm. You know, the methodology that I present to women is what I use for my own self. So it's about tapping inside my body, being true, being super intimate with myself. Like I just love receiving the energies through my body. So I do meditation and yoga. I wake up early. That's a concrete aspect of it. Then I receive guidance, intuition. I follow through. I get clarity. If there's cleanups in my life, then I have to act in a way that aligns. And then recreating my playground and appearing more and more in service. So my methodology is exactly what I teach women to do. I mean, that's what I do. And now I'm surrounding myself with more community and sisterhood. And this is super, super supportive. And I mean, now that I'm honoring this more and more in my life, I'm including this more and more in the community that I have with this group, with this movement per se, right?
Yeah.
So that's really my methodology. And yeah, it's the body clarity, daring to have a creative lifestyle and to be in the unknown, and appearing.
So beautiful. Wow. I love it so much. So if we wanted to access your work and your circles, all of that is on the website.
Actually, the website is going to be redesigned, but they can go on the Facebook group, and they
Okay.
can go also on the Facebook page. And yes, they get to meet us through this, for sure. And the website is, you can also get access to us through the website, but it's the most updated information is in the Facebook group and also the Facebook page.
Amazing.
Yes.
It's been such a pleasure and such a delight to have you. Thank you so much, Jennifer. I really appreciate it. And I look forward to chatting with you again soon.
Yes, thank you. Like I really feel the alignment and the connection, and there's really a resonance with what you do. And yes, there's something very natural. So thanks for having me on too, for sharing.
So many blessings.
Thanks, same.